Well, hello. Welcome to August 5th, 2022. My name is Kurt, and this is my Good Life meditation video. This is something I do every morning just after waking up to think about my life objectives and principles, the ones that I've brought together or formulated or created wholesale along the way, to which I use to live a better life, or at least to endeavor to do so. In the course of doing this, I begin by talking about the last 24 hours, thinking also, namely about where I might have been challenged and had opportunities to use the principles of the good life towards the objectives that I seek to achieve. Then I enumerate categorically, first the objectives, then the principles, and then when that's done, I'll plan for the next day. So let's begin. Last night, I slept better than usual. I was up before the alarm, but it couldn't have been more than 15 minutes, and it was very light. Before that, I did wake up maybe once, kind of briefly. Don't know where that was in the night. Probably within 2 hours of the alarm. So I would consider that a pretty good night's sleep, to get to bed pretty much on time. Don't feel so rested. Haven't had my coffee. Haven't even had a sip yet. Got to be careful. This thing's full. I chose the 12-ounce selection when I should have chosen the 10. All right. Yesterday at work was another strong showing. Really solid day of work, including both working and training. Meetings for my normal projects and the training, and as well as the training that I do. I had a good lesson at that. This is the last lesson for this series. The thing that I was hired for actually. That's good. That's really good. Maybe that's why I'm sleeping. I was hired by this job to do a particular thing, and I think that thing has gone swimmingly. I'm very pleased with the result. I really can't imagine how it could have been better. I mean, with the exception of incidentals, it ain't perfect, but in terms of a reasonable expectation of what the end result should be, and the end result that we're delivering is that reasonable, very reasonable expectation. I believe that we've fulfilled the sponsor's mandate, desire. We've met the contract. That feels good. Maybe that's helping me to sleep. And also my big scary project had its first big scary meeting yesterday, and feedback was that went really well. I believe that went really well. I'm not going to necessarily gauge it on the feedback. I have objective measures that I can use to gauge the effectiveness. And by those objective net measures, I think it went well. Plus, I'm feeling good. This intermittent fasting has become a way of life now. I just don't eat breakfast anymore. Small lunch, regular sized dinner. The only snacking I can do is between lunch and dinner. And typically that's either a healthy bran type of muffin that my wife makes, one, or a handful of nuts, maybe a handful and a half of nuts. Okay, any other challenges yesterday? I had one challenge. I was interrupted this wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. I was interrupted in my work, something that never happened here when I was working from home, by someone who was curious about my motorcycle. And I was kind of distracted, and I kind of wished that I had given that person more time, because they were generally being friendly. It wasn't one of those non-work related human moments at work. And so I talked about it. Because when I'm working. And it's hard for me to switch gears. It wasn't until last night, or the night before last, that I recognized that that was one of those human moments. So I made an effort today to find that person and engage them in that human talk. Made a friend. Someone I didn't know before. Made a friend. I made that effort yesterday. That sounds like I'm doing them a favor. That's not how I mean that to sound. Yeah, I think you get the point, right? Because the social principle suggests that we need each other and that we're all better off for the fact of one another. Anything else? Yesterday, lots of measured, careful moments throughout the day. Yeah, particularly at work. If I could have yesterday every day, I would be fine. I could go on working like this for another decade. And it wasn't necessarily because, that's interesting, it wasn't necessarily because yesterday went well. It was a pretty average day. Lots of challenges, etc. I think the difference, one is that I was at work, which helped me to be focused on work, which helped me to be not scared. I think that might be part of it. I feel like when I feel like I'm cheating. I never thought about that before. I think I hit on something. I feel counterfeit at home. I feel like I'm cheating when I'm at home. Even though I'm working very hard, even though I'm making all my deliverables, even though my employer's happy, it just doesn't feel like the genuine thing. Good, bad. I feel like I have something to prove, something to demonstrate. I need to show my employer that I'm a good, productive person, not taking advantage of their generosity and letting me work from home. I think I've just discovered something important. That might be why this experiment has been one of the reasons why it hasn't worked for me, and one of the reasons I haven't been sleeping, perhaps. But I definitely believe that this is true. I don't know if the consequences extend that far, but I definitely think that that's a reason that I don't like working from home. And at work, though, especially where I picked my cube, and it's funny, I got this cube about 3 or 4 years ago after there was kind of in the unit that I was in, and the organization was reshuffling people around, bodies around on the floor where I work, and someone who basically got the small short straw on the stick wound up with the cube that I'm in, which is an awful cube. There's no privacy whatsoever. You're right next to the kitchen. Everybody that can walk by can see you. And there was kind of a fight going on. And I stepped forward and said, I'll take that cube. So that'll solve the problem. I sound like I was being generous, but it wasn't the case. I wanted that cube. I've always been that way at work. I don't want to be hidden. I don't want privacy. I would never want an office. Put me in a very public setting so that everyone can walk past and scrutinize what I'm doing, so that I can be ambushed at a moment's notice. I want to be under a fishbowl microscope at work. It's not that I care to be the center of attention. It's just that I feel like then that there can be no question of my productivity. Damn, I think I've uncovered something here. I've known this, but I haven't really known this. So when I got back, I immediately chose my old cube again. And I've had several people, which is the executives and senior managers for the unit, for the organization that I work in. They also work from the office. That's always been the case, that the senior management has always stayed at the office. They're on another part of the floor, and they even came over and said, do you want to come sit closer to us? I'm like, no. I'm happy right here. And it's not like I'm saying I'm happy right here because I'm nice and private and away from you and no one can see what I'm doing. I'm happy right here because this is the heart of it. This is the middle of it. Even though there's not many people here, those that are here, they know that I'm working hard, show off. Well, not showing off to demonstrate that I'm working hard. Showing off to mollify any insecurity that I have regarding my perceived performance. I gotta remember that. I gotta watch this video again. I never watch my videos, but I've got to watch this video again to remember it. Okay. Uncovered something about myself. Uncovered something about my well-being. Uncovered something about my work ethic, my sense of value, and my need for approval. Good stuff. I don't know if it's good and healthy stuff, but it's good stuff to be aware of, for better or worse. Okay, let's do the good life. 7 objectives and 31 principles. It's raining out there by now, by the way, so I don't know if I'm speaking of all this talk about going to work. Don't know if I'm going to. Oh, you know what? I can just drive Yumiko's car. Maybe that's what I'll do. Pardon me, today I'll just drive the damn car. I was worried about riding my motorcycle in the rain. Okay, here we go. Good life. My 7 objectives are as follows. Let's see, I'm going to try that free-form method. I haven't done that in a while. Well, I'm probably asking for trouble because I changed the mix-up of things. I don't know if I can do this. Let's give it a try, though. Okay. The good life. To have everything in such a state that my passing won't be too much of a burden on my family, and that I'll leave something behind for them to find something of my opinion of life, my perspective, and my story, and to make sure that they can find what they need in terms of all the accounts that they'll need to find to get the money to keep things going. It's an awful start, aren't I? And to always make good use of my time throughout the day, to not waste time or fritter it away, to work hard on my objectives and principles, to strive to have good emotional reactions, to recognize my limits, what I can and cannot possibly do, or not likely to do, or can maybe do, and to do things slowly and carefully, deliberately. Oh, boy. To always be fighting against what I think is true in a reasonable manner, being honest and objective and skeptical. To remember that I don't have a soul. No one does. We just have a little consciousness that's going to be with us for a little while, and then we'll wink out when we die. And that consciousness is trapped inside of us, suffering with us along the way, suffering the experiences of each day and the maladies and of health, and the good moments too as well. To remember that right and wrong are not absolutes, but opinions, and that I need to work on my purpose, to be a good human being, to be a good husband and father, and to be virtuous, and to share the message and story of going alone and the good life. To keep in mind that everything falls to pieces, including me, and everything has some nature, including me, and that free will is an illusion, although it be so convincing at times. And that maturity comes when we can wisely remember what we've done in the past and where we succeeded and failed, and strive to do better in the future. To look after my relationships with others, to cultivate relationships, friendships, my loves. And to be careful about the words that I use, to not be reckless or to never gossip. To control my consumption in all cases, all things. To remember that life winds like a river, and that rapids will come along the way, tough moments to every life. And that terrible, truly awful things are in store for all of us and happening right now for some of us. Maybe someone in your family, maybe you. Maybe it's coming for me right now. There's no maybe, that's for sure. The horror is real. And to control my outlet of emotion so that I'm not dumping on others. And to be careful about when others are dumping. Careful about how I consume that. To remember that life is a distraction. We spend our lives distracting ourselves. Life itself isn't a distraction. We spend ourselves distracting ourselves from the thing that isn't life. Yeah, the emptiness that pervades the universe, which I call the great indifference. To be all right where I am, here, what I am and who I am. Where I am, who I am, and what I'm doing. There you go. And to be willing to step on the path of wildness, to make a transition from one life to another, even if life is satisfactory. Sometimes for the sake of just mixing it up, and to attain and to enjoy what I call a great life adventure, some marquee centerpiece experience of our lives. To remember that there's surface risks and deep risks. The surface risks are, education, career, home, family, and security. And the deep risk is not spending the time to get to know ourselves and to actualize somehow on ourselves. This is tough. Sometimes this is not the right mode, but I'll get there. And to not sin and suffer the consequent damnation, where sin is being untrue, believing things that are untrue, or gossiping. Oh, and I forgot to mention that it's important to be very careful with my words and to be social and to not gossip, like I said. To remember that afterlife is death and that's forever. We won't see each other again. We won't have a chance to reconcile our differences, and we won't see justice served. This is just the one chance we get. And to remember that sometimes in our lives comes a time to record what we've learned, if we're so willing and so interested. And we should keep a pen and paper handy for that. So tired. To remember that we strive for the mark, but we usually miss. Life is an uphill climb to keep moving up. It's also an arena for the development and utilization of our principles towards our chosen objectives. Oh yeah, and boy, I'm just falling flat on my face on this, ain't I? and then a reading utility, and then nothing is enough. Just a reminder that see what I can do with less. And then finally, the principle of fun. There, I said it. To try to enjoy life now, anticipating the future and remembering the past. Boy, that was sloppy. I just couldn't do that. I've done that maybe, I can say probably all the time I've done that, I've done that method of doing the Good Life Creed, the Good Life meditation, maybe less than 10 times. And in the past, I'd say the past 7 or 8, it came out all right. This one just sounded like a broken effort at my dull recitation, of some dull effort at some dull attempt at some rote recitation of the principles and objectives. I just couldn't. I just didn't have any flow or no spirit. But that's okay. That happens sometimes. A better day will. Tomorrow may be a better day, or maybe it'll be a horror show. Or though maybe the horror will arrive tomorrow. In either case, it's time for me to get started. My plan for now is to finish this, upload this, get on the Bible, read the 2nd chapter of Lamentations. Then I'm going to feed the dogs, take them out for a walk. Hopefully the rain has stopped by now. Very rare desert rain. It's really raining out in Siberia right now. I kind of wish I was out there. Not. But I think my work there is done. But it would be interesting to see a flash flood. And then after that, I'll get to work. I think I'll either, if the streets are wet, I'll drive my wife's car to work. I don't think she needs it. Okay, there you go. That's my day. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.